Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Manic Expression Digression Session. Back around 2012, when the site Manic Expression first started, there was a podcast hosted by Mark Nicholson, aka Big Black Hat Man. He gathered in a few members of Manic Expression, and they talked about various topics, and that had gone on for a good couple of years, right before people's schedules got really, really busy. And then that podcast was spun over to another podcast called The Dude Man Show with himself and another Manic Expression member known as the Other Dude 92. So unfortunately, due to their busy schedules and the fact that they, as of right now, they are no longer members of Manic Expression due to their busy lives. So the podcast pretty much became dormant for almost 4 years, but due to, I think, for a lot of people's wake up that as a few weeks ago, the site was very close to shutting down. And then we thought, we need to bring back the community together. So I suggested to James, the founder of Manic Expression, hey, let's see if we can bring this back. And here with me, I have Jim Bevan.
So glad to be back for this re-inaugural episode.
We have Jashykins.
Hi.
Yeah, today we're going to be discussing about various topics, and the old version of Manic Expression Digression Session, they would focus on one topic, but then I thought that due to the fact that lots of members such as the Other Dude 92 and even Kyle would go all over the place with topics, especially with going out of topic or, saying a whole bunch of things that, maybe for some people could be a little bit crude, but, we still love them for that. But
nonetheless, in a math book.
Yes, but nonetheless, I like to, have multiple topics going on and have our thoughts on each and every single one of them. And we'll be having some new segments coming in to spice things up a bit. So you are listening to the first episode of the Manic Expression Digression Session for September 13th, 2020. So the first bit of news I would like to bring up is the site itself. I think we went through a bit of a scare when a few weeks ago we got the announcement from James and Fusionator saying that the site was very, very close to shutting down. But thanks to their hard work and diligence, they were able to bring things back. Now, we've been, members for the site for a very long time. And how did it make you feel knowing that we were very close to losing a site that we've been posting our content for over 8 years?
It was kind of a stunner to me. I knew that we had problems with spammers in the forum, but I never thought that would be grounds for getting the website's account suspended. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but I am very thankful they were able to resolve it.
I manage the social media accounts of Manic Expression, so my lazy brain side said, wow, something I don't have to do anymore. And I feel really, really bad that I thought that.
I understand.
Yeah, but then it was like, what the heck happened? I mean, I didn't expect 2020 to take that from us. I mean, I hardly expected anything else, but that was not on my little list of things I predicted.
Yeah. Now, it hasn't been 100% confirmed on what happened. I mean, for the most part, a lot of people said that it was due to spammers, constantly posting things that were very inappropriate. And I guess the official site that hosted Manic Expression were okay, it's clear that, they are just a spam site and we're just going to shut them down. So that's what we know for now, but who knows? But anyway, but I'm really glad that we do have Manic Expression back because, for a lot of people like us, we were on previous sites, whether it be with, that guy with the glasses or other means of posting our stuff. And, we were trying to find a venue so that we can be able to express ourselves while at the same time be able to have a tight-knit community together. And I think that we did get that in Manic Expression. And the fact that, a lot of us were going to be, not a part of that anymore just made things surprising, especially since that, I felt like I was going to be losing that community that I've been a part of for almost 10 years. So I'm glad that James and Fusionator were able to get things together.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's discuss about our first topic. So it was recently announced that Animaniacs will be returning on November 23rd of 2020. As of just today, they posted up a bit of a teaser trailer showcasing the animatic and the voice actors coming together and reprising their roles. And a few days ago, there was a poster that was leaked online showcasing some new art styles for the characters, and kind of confirmed for being in the show are Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, Pinky and the Brain, and some new characters. One of them is like African-American singer who's like right on top of the water tower, an African-American woman who's right next to the security guard from the old show. She looked like she was some sort of agent or maybe working from there, and this really buff, almost naked guy, which is interesting. So from the most part, from what we can confirm is that like most of the characters that we were associated with Animaniacs, such as Mindy and Buttons, Rita and Runt, the Good Feathers, the Hippos, Chicken Boo, Katie Kaboom, most of those characters most likely have been opt out in favor of focusing specifically on the Warner Brothers and Warner Sister, Pinky and the Brain, and maybe some new characters. So what are your thoughts?
I'm of mixed feelings on this. I have gone on record many times before that I'm not fond of the entertainment industry constantly going back for reboots and remakes.
Well, we'll get to that much later on.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm also willing to give them a shot because the Animaniacs series was all about, poking fun at the entertainment industry. And I definitely think there's a potential to do that here, take a nice meta approach to the subject of reboots and trying to, modernize old franchises. That was brought up a bit in the animatic. So, I mean, I'm willing to give it a shot if the writing is good. As for leaving out some of the side characters, like, Buttons and Mindy and Chicken Boo, I would actually be okay with that because I never really enjoyed the side segments that much. I never thought they were as funny as the main segments with the Warners or Pinky and the Brain. So if they're willing to chuck those and try for something new, then I'm okay with that. The new characters you mentioned, I think the one African-American woman, I think she might be a stand-in for Hello Nurse because from what I heard, they're not bringing her back. So
it's not too surprising considering of, they'll think that, sexual harassment with, Wacko and Yakko, always like trying to smit on her. And I know that there'll be constant complaints if that were the case.
yeah, you have to be kind of careful how you present things in the Me Too era. I also heard that they're getting rid of Minerva Mink, and some people said that was why it was for similar reasons why they kept Miss Bellum out of the Powerpuff Girls reboot, the idea that she might be too sexualized for a children's show. And I can understand people's complaints about this, but if they make this new character, who admittedly we don't know anything about her name yet, but if they can make her well written and they can actually make her a good foil for the Warners, maybe someone who can even one up Yakko and Wacko, then yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, DuckTales proves me wrong that all reboots are soulish cash grabs, so this might be another one in that category.
All right. What about you, Jash?
Growing up, I never really watched TV that much. I mainly just read, so I have no real nostalgic connection to the Animaniacs. I saw them every now and again, but they weren't exactly a big part of my childhood, so I don't really have a strong opinion on them being rebooted.
Sure. Now, I am, all for it. If, because I really liked Animaniacs when it first came out. I thought it was like really funny. I thought the characters worked, and I like the situations that were going on with like making fun of, pop culture media and doing a lot of jokes. And I could understand the cutting of most of these characters because it's like you were saying before, Jim, that some of the segments weren't as funny as say the Warner Brothers and Warner Sister and Pinky and the Brain. I mean, there was a reason why Pinky and the Brain had the spin-off series and all the others didn't. Because I felt that, something like Pinky and the Brain can be able to work together. You have a dynamic duo where one is a genius, the other one's insane, and they're planning on taking over the world, and you could work a lot with that. I felt that, the other ones, they were kind of hit and miss for the most part. I mean, first of all, you have Mindy and Buttons, and I get that the joke is that, oh, you have this toddler and she's like causing all this mayhem and the dog's trying to save her. It's something that you would see akin to like 1940s cartoons, like, the Tom and Jerry one where Tom is trying to save the baby from getting killed.
Or Popeye trying to chase after Sweet Pea.
Exactly.
There was even a Buttons and Minnie cartoon that referenced that. They had Popeye chasing Sweet Pea and Tom chasing Jerry in a construction zone because that was such a common plot by that point.
Yeah. And then there was also, the hippos, which I never really cared too much about them. It was just like, oh, they just went through like, crazy, wacky situations. It's like, yeah, sure, that's fine.
They're like what was their plan anyway? They were like a rich adventurous couple that just like to waste their money doing frivolous things.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess it's supposed to be making fun of like, oh, people who are rich and, they just spend on whatever they wanted. I guess it was like, it's supposed to be like a poke at, high class society.
Yeah, but you can do that better. Just look at the Howls from Gilligan's Island or the Northwests from Gravity Falls.
Yeah. And then there was Rita and Runt, which I actually enjoyed the Rita and Runt cartoons. Sometimes they were really good. I mean, especially with Bernadette Peters. I mean, you can't go wrong with Bernadette Peters. But I don't think that now, Bernadette would be committed to it. I mean, unless, of course, if she, she can't get too much work with Broadway with COVID happening. I mean, but maybe they think that, oh, we don't want to, sing certain songs that are like a parody of this because maybe, we might either get copyrights or maybe, we can't get the exclusivity deal for doing these certain songs. I mean, like they did like the Les Miserables episode. So, I mean, so maybe they couldn't do that, or maybe the whole stint about like, Runt doesn't know that Rita is a cat as opposed to a dog. And, that was Rita's supposed to like, sing her songs and supposed to be like all cheery and stuff like that, or go through situations that involve with singing. So maybe they thought that, that wasn't enough to work with a short, which, that's fair enough.
Possibly. I mean, you never know. It was a good approach to try and get kids some exposure to theater. I mean, Sesame Street would do musical parodies and opera parodies, and those have been serving them well for the last 50 years.
Sure, and also Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry have done the same thing. Yeah, and also you have the Good Feathers, which kids nowadays wouldn't understand the reference that it's supposed to be a parody of The Goodfellas, which was a movie that came out in the 90s that focused on the life of a mafia member. So, I mean, go ahead.
I don't think anyone would really get the De Niro or the Joe Pesci pigeon references that easily right now.
I mean, like, unless of course if they saw what's that movie that came out in Netflix? It's the one with Martin Scorsese, the newest.
The Irishman.
Irishman, yes. Maybe they would try to do a Irishman reference, but I don't think that even that would be, akin to what kids would be into. So, I can see why they cut that out. Chicken Boo, I mean, let's be honest, who even liked Chicken Boo?
It was the same joke over and over again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's a chicken in a disguise. Great.
And everyone thinks the person except for the one guy who always figures it out but gets mocked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised they didn't do a Trojan War parody where Cassandra was the only one who realized he was a chicken.
I would have liked to see that. And then there's Katie Kaboom, which, okay, I mean, it's just like, oh, explosions and ditzy teenage girl. Okay.
Yeah. I remember seeing one of Chad Rocco's videos when he did the familiar faces on her, and he made the theory that Katie's mood swings were supposed to be like a cartoonish over-exaggeration of PMS.
That's an interesting theory. I don't know. And Slappy Squirrel. I mean, I think that Slappy Squirrel could work in today. I think that, having Sherry Stoner back and, discussing about like, oh, I used to hang out with this celebrity back in the day. I mean, I think that could work.
It could, especially now with the idea of reboots, with the idea that, reboot, she could be a person she could be reworked into someone who's like, she's talking about how things were better and, how it was better in the old days, how the new stuff doesn't hold up. And heck, maybe you could even have Skippy say, "Okay, Boomer" to her once.
Oh my God. Yes. That would be awesome. I mean, I know kids wouldn't get the reference, but that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so I'm actually curious about your thoughts on, the variety show skit, because basically the variety show genre was pretty common around the 90s. I mean, we had Tiny Toons, we had What a Cartoon, we had Oh Yeah Cartoons, we had Kablam, but this kind of stuff isn't really that around anymore. Like, if you think of cartoons nowadays, you think of more comedic cartoons or more serious cartoons, story-driven cartoons with deep characters going through really strong situations. Do you think a cartoon like this could work in 2020?
It can, but only if it's very well handled, only if it knows how to appeal to a modern audience without pandering to them. Like, you cannot make a if the first sketch is just all about making fun of, online celebrities like PewDiePie or the Paul brothers, then that's definitely a sign of trying too hard to be relevant. I mean, if you wanted to do an episode where, say, one of the Warners tries to become a Let's Player or a streamer, and you just have clever references at all the problems they go through, then yeah, that could work. It all depends on, it all depends on how it's written, how it's presented, and if the staff knows how to, if the staff is on top of things and not just trying to pander.
Sure, I can understand that. I mean, it's like, oh, you're trying way too hard, to be relevant in this day and age, which, I mean, sure, I can understand if they're trying to throw out some references that are like cool at the time, which, would be considered maybe dated in the next couple of years, which, I mean, to be fair, they have done their fair share of doing that too, where they would poke fun at something that happened at the time. So I could definitely see that. So, but I think that for the most part, I mean, if they are able to do, if they were able to like do the things that made them good in the first place while adding in some new elements, I think it would work out. I'm just concerned that maybe today's audience wouldn't really get the variety show genre, because let's be honest, I mean, they're considered dated by a lot of animation fans, in which like, you spend about 7 minutes watching something, and what if it's not good, and then you watch something else, it's like, okay, I mean, for some people it's like a grab bag. It's like some things are good and some things are bad. Well, some people will be complaining about the consistency of the quality, and all this and also something like this, like the variety show thing, would be something akin to what you would see on YouTube as opposed to on television or even on a streaming service.
Right. I will say the one thing that I am scared for with this reboot is just exactly what the memers will do.
Oh,
Oh
no.
God.
Yeah,
No.
just imagine someone posts up a video where he's remixed Pinky and the Brain, and he says if Brain doesn't get control of the world, he's going to say the N-word.
I hope not.
I think that's on the lighter scale of bad things that could go wrong with memes.
Sure.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. I hope that they'll be like, oh, the Brain would support this cause or something like that. I don't know.
God, no, please don't make Brain an incel. Please don't make Brain an incel.
Okay, now you're making it so that the Brain has to be an incel. Jeez.
Oh, God. Okay.
You just opened your mouth.
Way to go. Now people are going to be like questioning all this. Okay.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, so yes, November 23rd, 2020, it'll be a Hulu exclusive. So if you do have Hulu, then you can go check it out. And, whether it's good or bad, we'll have to decide on that when more episodes come out. All right, so going over to our next topic, are movie theaters relevant anymore? So this was based off of a February article from the New York Times, in which, because more people are staying at home due to COVID-19, as opposed to going to theaters where they can risk getting themselves sick, they're questioning about, are movie theaters even needed anymore? I mean, especially with the comparisons between, releasing some movies in theaters as opposed to on streaming service. The streaming service tends to make a lot more money with a lot of people nowadays, especially since most of them won't go into theaters. An example on this would be Tenet, which was released in theaters. So yeah, I'm actually curious. Do you think that movie theaters are relevant anymore?
I do. When COVID-19 wasn't going around, it'd be sort of my weekly thing of maybe once or twice a week walking over to the movie theater, the closest movie theater is maybe like a 5-minute walk from my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a nice outing I had. And so I like just getting away from the house. And due to Rev Resner's back problems, he usually couldn't go see a movie. So it'd usually just be me getting away from him, me getting away from the house. And there are the majority of movies you don't need to see in theaters, but others really become something different when you do see them on the big screen. Earlier this year, I saw the movie Underwater, which is just awesome. It's atmospheric, it's extremely well paced, and when I saw it at home, when it got onto a streaming service, it was still a good movie, but you really feel trapped and scared more so than at home. So for some movies, like a theater viewing in a theater is nearly a requirement to actually experience the film.
For me, theaters have actually been irrelevant for a while. Our local mall shut down in 2018, and after that meant the theater closest to us was at least an hour's drive away. So it only got to the point where I would go if there was a movie I was really interested in seeing, and that happens only maybe 1-2 times a year. I'm all for this releasing directly to streaming services or home viewing because it's a lot more convenient for people who don't have easy access to a theater.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's a lot cheaper too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's true because, you as opposed to like, you go over to spend like $12 if you're going on a matinee and, getting your popcorn and your snacks would be like another $15. And if you decide to get like, I want to get to a closer seat or I want to get to a reclining seat or something like that, I have to put in a few extra dollars so I can save the seats as opposed to when I go in and I have to buy the seats and hopefully there's some there. So.
Yeah. And if you have to go to the bathroom, you can just pause it and you won't have to worry about missing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to go to the bathroom a bunch of times. So anytime I go to see a movie in a movie theater, it's like an hour or two planning about bathroom breaks beforehand.
Yeah. As for me, I'm kind of mixed here because I do enjoy the experience of going into a movie theater. I really enjoy, being surrounded by similar people who want to enjoy a movie, especially if it's a movie that I have been looking forward to for a long time, and seeing it on the big screen, surround sound, and if it's a really good movie that you can enjoy and people are enjoying as well. I mean, the mood, it makes the experience so good. But but here's the thing, I don't go to movies very often. I go see a movie maybe about 3 or 4 times a year if I'm really excited about it, or I'll be like, I'll just wait until that comes out on streaming or Blu-ray or something like that. So so I don't really go to it very often, and I can understand, especially with nowadays, I've been seeing that it's kind of funny because I've been seeing recently that, drive-ins have been, coming back from the dead after being like almost irrelevant for the past few decades. And, people are in their cars and they're, seeing it on the screen. They don't have to worry about like, sitting next to a complete stranger. So there's that. And also I've been seeing a lot more people doing outside projections with watching movies, like they would get a blanket and they would like have some sections off for social distancing, and then they would have a movie playing on the screen. So I've been seeing a lot more of that. As for like a building that you can go in to see a movie, especially since it's more convenient to watch it at home where you're safe and you can be able to like prepare your snacks or go to the bathroom or get a drink or answer the phone or something, then yeah, I think it's more convenient that way. So I'm actually curious about how movie theaters are going to recover even after COVID-19 ends. So I mean, the movie theater that's close to my house has already shut down, so I don't know what's going to happen in the foreseeable future.
Here's hoping that the people who work there are able to get back on their feet soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to skip over to a new segment called On This Day. I'm going to be reading off what happened on this day, which is on September 13th. So here we go. On this day was the premiere of Pee-wee's Playhouse on CBS, which premiered on September 13th, 1986, and it ran for 5 seasons until 1991.
Every preschooler's first drug trip.
I was trying to hold back on any drug reference. I was trying to be good.
You might as well at this point. Okay, on this day, Roald Dahl, Norwegian writer who was born in Wales, was born in September 13th, and he is very well known for his books such as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The BFG, The Twits, Matilda, SEO Trot, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and more.
Haven't watched any of Dahl's works in a while, to be honest. I do need to catch up on your podcast looking at the adaptations, though.
Yeah, which one of them is actually going to be posting up tonight as of the recording of this. So who knows, maybe as soon as you're done listening to this, you can check out episode 13 of the Roald Dahl retrospective. So there's a little plug right there. Okay, next one. On this day, the first episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Premiered on CBS at 10 a.m., which is still going on over 50 plus years later with the release of Scoob from 2020, which I actually did talk about on a podcast with Nero and Y-Boy. We both watched it together.
Yep. Been going for 51 years, and Frank Welker still sounds like a teenager.
I don't know how he does it, to be quite honest.
Oh god, I think I did watch a couple episodes of Scooby-Doo when I was growing up, but I'm just now thinking about the Scooby-Doo Supernatural episode where near the end of it, the boys reveal, ghosts are real, and all of the gang members just go into a mental breakdown.
Yeah, I'm still wondering why Daphne was worried she'd end up going to hell. What did she do?
That's a good question.
No, I think that's one of those questions where you actually really don't want to know.
Yeah.
Because if she thinks she's going to hell, it's like, no, I don't want to find out. I actually don't. I'd be a much better person if I didn't find out.
Fair enough. And last but certainly not least, which is going to go into our next segment, on this day, the premiere of the NES video game Super Mario Brothers premiered in Japan on September 13th, 1985, and kick-started a whole line of main series, spin-off series, and millions of cameos at this point. So yeah, let's go over to the next segment discussing about Mario. So the announcement of the Mario 35th Anniversary 3D Pack, which will be containing Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. So I know there's been a lot of other announcements about, other Mario titles that are going to be coming out, but this is the one that a lot of people had been pretty disappointed with or were excited with. The one thing is that it's limited quantity, which of course it is. I mean, don't be surprised. This is Nintendo we're talking about. And the second thing is that they were expecting to see a remaster of all of the games with brand new graphics. I mean, they were saying like, I would love to play Super Mario 64 with the Odyssey graphics, and they were hoping like, nice little remasters of Galaxy and Sunshine in the same way. And the biggest thing that a lot of people were upset with was, where's Mario Galaxy 2?
Oh, yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I can understand why they didn't bother porting that though, or trying to tweak it. You can't really fix perfection.
Now, personally, for me, I was kind of disappointed because, I knew about the original Super Mario Brothers pack for the Super Nintendo, where they did actually updated the graphics and they were able to tweak some things, like make, the lost levels even, more tolerable, which, I don't really like that game to begin with. So as somebody who doesn't really care too much for Super Mario 64, I was hoping that they would like do a nice little remaster and like fix all the things that made the game dated. I mean, I know people praise it as like this, amazing masterpiece, but I played the later games of, like Sunshine and Galaxy 2. So going back to 64 just kind of fell backwards to me. I mean, and not,
Yeah.
I mean, I know literally back, I mean, because it's an older game, but just like everything about the game, like the level design and the controls and all that kind of stuff were just kind of frustrating, and the designs of the levels just didn't really interest me for the most part.
It was good for, showcasing off what you could do with the tech, but there was other games that basically built on it, like Banjo-Kazooie and Psychonauts, that have held up better, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I have Psychonauts has held up way better. Like I have Psychonauts, I got it for free on the Humble Bundle, and it's still so good. And as for Banjo-Kazooie, never played that game.
You don't missing.
I know, everybody's been telling me that. I know this is going to sound pretty cruel of me, but yeah, I was kind of let down considering that, recently we've been spoiled with all these amazing remasters that we've gotten from Vicarious Visions. Like, they were the ones who, and also Toys for Bob, they brought back, Spyro and Crash from the dead, and they were able to bring back Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters 1 and 2 in a time in which Pro Skater 5 pretty much killed the franchise. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I was expecting better.
Yeah.
I mean, and another thing is that, the whole thing about like, oh, we're going to only release in limited quantity and then by March it's going to go. It's like, really? People are going to buy this by the truckloads, and you decide to do this. It's like, I feel like Nintendo will never learn about this.
Most likely not, no.
Anyway, so going into the Mario news, I decided to skip over to our next segment. It is called What If Blank Made Blank? So in honor of Super Mario Brothers 35th anniversary, I'm going to give you 5 different companies, video game companies, and I'm going to ask you about like, what would be the situation that, how would they make a Mario game? Let's just say that, you have the Mario games as like your foundation, and, where do you go from there? So I'm going to say the first one. I'm going to give you guys an easy one. Okay. What if Edmund McMillen made a Super Mario Bros. Game?
Who's Edmund McMillen?
He was the one who did
Meat Boy.
Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Okay, so yeah.
There'd obviously be a lot more scatological humor and a lot more nightmare fuel, and the difficulty would be ramped up to 20.
Okay. And what about you, Jash?
Some sort of psychological, with I think the Binding of Isaac is really about how Isaac is dealing with his trauma. So there'd be Mario dealing with some sort of trauma there, and you'd be fighting against all these weird ass bosses.
Yeah.
And as Jim said, nightmare fuel.
Yeah. I'm thinking you play as Luigi, and he's going through the traumas of being under Mario's shadow, and you have to fight off his inner struggles and fears and demons and all of these locations that are like recreations of all the mansions that he's been in, Luigi's Mansion, but like amped up. And all of the figments of Luigi's mind are the monsters that he creates.
That would be a nice approach there, yeah.
That would be good.
All right, so number 2. What if BioWare made Super Mario Brothers?
Are we talking about current BioWare or BioWare when they were good?
BioWare when they were good. Screw BioWare EA. Like, I'm still pissed off.
Yeah, okay. I could definitely see them going the Paper Mario route, making a grand epic adventure spanning multiple levels in the Mushroom Kingdom. And, they would have it fully voiced, full dialogue driven, where your actions would decide on what happens. Like, say if you say the wrong thing, you could, if you say the right thing, you can get Bowser and his forces on your side. If you say the wrong thing, you'll get them, you'll just end up angering Bowser worse, and then he'll become another enemy for you to fight in the end, aside from the new threat they introduced for the game. And I would definitely go with full voiced, and some people might disagree with me on this because I know Charles Martinet is so associated with Mario, but if they want to give him fully voiced dialogue, I would go with John DiMaggio.
John DiMaggio as Mario? I like that idea.
Well, thank you.
Who would be Luigi, if Luigi's even going to be in this game?
Who was that? I'm blanking on his name. He was in that show, Just Shoot Me. He was Elliot the photographer. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about too. Yeah. While I look that up, who would play Peach?
Peach, I'd go with Grey Delisle.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Enrico Colantoni, that was his name. That's who I
Okay.
picked. And for Bowser, Kevin Michael Richardson.
Yes. Yes. Please. Please. I would love that.
I'm better when I write because then I sound really, really intelligent, but it would be open world where, yeah, your actions would determine what would happen. I'm assuming romance options.
That could
I
work.
like
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah.
I'm a big shipper, so you know, I'm a big shipper, so you know, I go, oh, there better be romance options.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like that. Will Mario go with Peach? Will he go with Daisy, or will he decide to screw them and hook up with Waluigi?
I was thinking more like Bowser, maybe Mario Bowser option there.
Sure,
Like,
why not?
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
Mario goes totally evil, hooks up with Bowser, and ta-da!
Oh yeah, and maybe give him the Bowsette crown too.
Oh my god.
Oh God, yes, yes.
My god. Okay. Yeah, I definitely do agree with you guys. Open world. I think that the story could be like, let's just say, Bowser took over the Mushroom Kingdom like he usually does, and Mario is trying to gather up a group of people so that they can be able to take them down. Kind of like similar to like the RPGs, and
Yeah.
Whatever decision that Mario makes, when he's, talking to people, it's like it can either, good be, beneficial to him, or it could be more beneficial to Bowser. And it would be kind of interesting if we saw like both perspectives of it. Like, Bowser's trying to take over the Mushroom Kingdom because he feels like the Goombas and the Koopa Troopas are being like so underutilized and underrepresented. It kind of reminds me of that Goomba Appreciation Day video that Gaijin Goomba posted a few years ago, or he was saying like, don't abuse the Goombas, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I would like to see from that perspective, and seeing like Mario is like this tyrant who like stomps on Goombas and Koopa Troopas and knocking them down on lava and pits and stuff like that. And then we have Mario's perspective, in which, like, he's trying to do good and he's trying to save everybody, and he's trying to, like, gather up all these people into his side.
Yeah. One thing that would definitely have to do, because it has yet to be done in the Mario RPG game, they would have to let you choose have a shy guy as a party member, because they were way overdue for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also got to thinking now, maybe for the side mission to recruit Yoshi, you have to help get him out of jail because he's been arrested for tax evasion.
Either that, or because his addiction to fruit has been skyrocketing so much.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, go over to the third one. Number 3. What if Atlas made Super Mario Brothers?
This one's a little tough. It would definitely be another. I definitely see it happening more Paper Mario inspired, but I would definitely go the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona route, whereby instead of having set party members, you have the chance to recruit them to your side in the battles, so then you could get like one of every enemy type working for you.
Mm-hmm.
As for the story, as for the plot, I'm not the Persona games always tend to take place in this parallel world that's born from the human subconscious. So maybe you could go and make it a reworked version of Mario 2, where they're trapped in this dream world ruled over by Wart.
I would like that, because Ward was only featured in Super Mario Brothers 2 and nowhere else.
Right, and it could be that, he's been forgotten about, but he's been lingering in their unconscious minds for all this time and building his power, and now he's back, and now he wants to trap them there forever as vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know that much about the Persona games. I know little bits here and there, but I don't know enough to understand the game, so I'm basically useless.
Sure.
On this one.
No problem. I'm very little knowledge. I have very little knowledge on this genre, but from what I've seen in like clips online and read through magazine articles and stuff, they're always in school for the Persona games, and I know that for the Shin Megami Tensei series, they always have like, the enemies to back you up. It's like, going into like that world that what I was discussing about. It's like, I'm thinking that you have the whole gang together, and you go through the lives of separate characters. Like you can choose between Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, Pauline, Toad, or anything like that. You get to make decisions, or akin to something like if you were to get something from BioWare, and along the way you do like learn abilities or gather up enemies so that you can be able to fight. As for the story, that's kind of hard to say because I'm not too familiar with the story itself. All right, so let's go for Ubisoft. What if Ubisoft made a Super Mario Brothers game? And don't say microtransactions.
No.
Why not? That's like really low hanging fruit and is easy for me to deal with.
Well, let's see. There'd be open world. There'd be watchtowers. There'd probably be a stealth option involved. And I don't know. Given how most Ubisoft games seem to go, the plot would probably be motivated by revenge of some kind, like Mario's finally gotten tired of Bowser abducting Peach or whatever, and he decides, okay, this time I'm taking him down for good, and goes about some stealthy guerrilla tactics mission to take down Bowser's empire bit by bit.
What about you, Jash?
I'm trying to figure out which games Ubisoft made.
Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Watch Dogs.
Yeah, Watch Dogs.
Okay,
yeah.
it's that. Okay, now I have a little bit of a basis there.
Yeah, Far Cry.
Far Cry. Fudge. So, very open world game, little plot, lots of action. I guess Mario with an Uzi.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the Yoshi game where you went around and shot things, shot Goombas and Koopa Troopas with the NES, the SNES, gun. So why not? Sure, Mario with a bazooka. I want to see that. No, but seriously, as for me, yeah, I would think very akin to something like Assassin's Creed or Far Cry, very open world. I would like for it to be a really interesting revenge tale, like, going into maybe focusing on Waluigi if he never got attention from, Wario and his, like Mario and Luigi, and he's like, going through like many missions in which he's like trying to get popularity by ousting them one by one. Because the Waluigi fans would be like so happy with it or something. No, but no, seriously, I think that the story would be, I would like to see Rosalina be a main protagonist in a game, especially if it's going to be open world with like this long, complex story about revenge and about tragedy or something. Like, I would like to actually focus more on the story that was featured briefly in Super Mario Galaxy, in which like she's trying to find her mother and she travels around each of the galaxies. Like the open world is the galaxy itself, and she's going around and rescuing all the Lunas while at the same time doing all these like side quests where she eventually does gain access to all of the galaxy, and then it like cuts into Super Mario Galaxy as like the end point, and then you have to play Super Mario Galaxy to find out what happens more into the story of Mario's perspective. So I like to see that.
An idea.
Yeah, so that's what I like to see. All right, so last one. So what if Santa Monica Studio made Super Mario Brothers?
What's Santa Monica Studio?
They made the God of War games.
Okay.
Imagine Mario decapitating someone.
Now I'm just thinking of Mario replacing Kratos. Like maybe there's like a big match between the two in the beginning, and suddenly and now he's Kratos, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't really picture a very brutal Mario game, to be honest.
Even though there is a fan game called Brutal Mario.
Oh, really?
But it's more of a hard version of Super Mario Brothers. That'll be interesting because the newest God of War game for the PlayStation 4 has Kratos with his son, and it's an open world, and there's a leveling system with like the armor and the axe and all that kind of stuff, and you go around and kill leviathans and other creatures, and then there's like this really deep, complex story with Norse mythology. So when I think of Santa Monica Studio, I think of bloodshed, violence, really complicated story that goes on throughout the course of the game, revenge, booming orchestra music, and like pushing the system with its graphics.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking of Yoshi as more like a velociraptor than a cute little dinosaur.
Yeah.
Probably get his payback for coming to get his payback for all the times he's been left to fall down a cliff.
Yes, indeed. Like, oh, all those times that you ditched me so that you could be able to get to the level at the end. I will get you, Mario. All right, so yes, that was the game What If Blank Made Blank. So who knows, maybe we'll be bringing it back next week for another segment, but we'll see how this one turns out for all of you listeners. All right, so let's go over to the next one, which we did kind of talk about earlier. Is media relying too heavily on nostalgia?
Yes, next question.
Yes, too. I agree with my friend Jean here. Jean, what the hell?
Yes, so now this is actually really interesting because it kind of spawned from the petition that was going on with, Comedy Central doing the, revamping their lineup with adult cartoons that are essentially bringing back old shows from the 90s and the early 2000s. We have Mission Hill, the Darius spinoff, and Beavis and Butthead, and Ren and Stimpy. And of course, that petition was specifically for Ren and Stimpy because they don't want to see it back. But it actually brought an interesting point from people. Oh, go ahead.
I think I just saw. I saw that it's been shelved. The Ren and Stimpy reboot. Yeah,
well, I haven't heard any 100% confirmation, but it actually had gotten people thinking about like, we're essentially like, bringing back all of these old properties as opposed to trying something new. And I think I briefly talked about this in another podcast with Arun Mehta from the Arun Mehta Show. And I was saying about like, are we essentially like reliving the ghetto age of animation during the 70s and 80s when it comes to television, in which like the only things that animators were able to do was like cartoons based off of toys or from 20 or 30-year-old properties? Like, you couldn't create anything like brand new. I mean, it had to be like, oh, we're going to make a cartoon based off of this toy, Transformers or Care Bears or Strawberry Shortcake or something like that. Or if it's an older property from like 20 or 30 years ago, it's like, oh, we're going to bring back the Jetsons. We're going to bring back the Flintstones. We're going to do Scooby-Doo. We're going to do Popeye and Son and all that kind of stuff. So are we going through another wave of that?
It definitely seems that way. I mean, I do hate to say it just seems like less effort is being put into originality. I mean, you have the success of the Marvel universe, the success of the Marvel movies has a lot of studios not wanting to greenlight anything unless they're guaranteed it can be spun off into a successful franchise, and afraid of going for anything that isn't already based on something popular.
Yeah. And also, I when it comes to like pilots of new things that are being shown on YouTube, they're pretty much being pushed to the side. Like, if you remember, Nickelodeon was actually doing a lot of those Nickelodeon animation pilots that were being featured on their YouTube channel, showcasing like all of these interesting ideas, and none of them got picked up.
No, see, it seems like most of the stuff that they want to premiere, it goes straight to streaming services. Glitch Techs, it's a Nickelodeon series. It's gone to Netflix. Infinity Train, it's a cartoon series. New season's gone to HBO Max. Close Enough was supposed to be on TBS. It waited for 2 years, then goes to HBO Max.
Yeah, and then there's Pinky Malinky, which probably was the worst of them. It's like the show was first announced like around, what was it, like 2014 or 2015. The show was being delayed for multiple years, and they're like, go to Netflix. Yeah, it's been pretty rough for like, television. I mean, streaming services, are no Unfortunately, there are no saviors either, because shows like Tuca and Birdie were being canceled, and after one season, even though the creator specifically said that she wanted to do more. And any show that doesn't get like a ton of views from people, that goes off the shelf. And that's you can't release it on TV unless, of course, they're able to buy the distribution rights. So that's a bit of a challenge. I mean, people want something familiar. They want to be able to see something that's that has brand recognition. And if anything new, I mean, it's like a crapshoot. It's like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Who knows? But I think that nowadays, I mean, I think that there is absolutely no reason why a new property should not be given a chance. I mean, we see the success that shows like Adventure Time, regular shows, Steven Universe, Infinity Train, Gravity Falls, all these properties are able to spin off into something brand new and are just as recognized as some of the stuff from the olden days.
Exactly, and just look at all the stuff that's come out just this year alone. Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, Amphibia, Owl House.
Exactly.
People want to see new media, be willing to take risks. Yeah, it won't pan out. It won't pan out for all of them, but if you find a gold mine, then enjoy it and try not to wreck it like they did with other overplayed series like The Simpsons.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many seasons is The Simpsons at? Like season 30?
31.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Wow. And here's the thing, like Arthur, the PBS kids show, featuring the character from the original book by Mark Brown. I hear that they're going to be ending that series next year, which it's going to be going on, it's like 25th season? Yeah, so they know when to stop.
I was amazed to learn that the Venture Brothers had been canceled because they only put out 7 seasons in 17 years.
Like, how does that even work?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I had recently a few of the shows me and Rev Resner really look forward to were canceled. I think Santa Clarita Diet was canceled after 2 or 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Altered Carbon was actually canceled after ending on that fucking cliffhanger last season.
I hate cliffhangers in shows. If you're going to cancel a show and you know about this, please do not end it on a cliffhanger. Nobody likes that.
Then you're probably ready for my 2-hour rant on how the makers of Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, knew they were probably going to be canceled, so just said, let's end on a super cliffhanger where there's thousands of questions.
Oh,
Your life will be hell.
They probably thought that the Terminator Salvation movie was gonna, kick off into a new series.
And then, I liked Terminator Salvation, but yeah, it did not get the numbers needed. And I actually waited, I think, a week until after I saw Terminator Salvation to see if, the show was canceled or not, because I knew I could not, take any. I could only deal with so much sadness at one time.
Sure. Oh man. Anyway, but here's the thing, I don't mind if older properties are being brought back if they're good. And if a show that was not good the first time, is being brought back and is able to get a fresh coat of paint, then sure, do it. But if it's overwhelming the media to the point in which original new properties cannot get a foothold, then that's a problem. I think there needs to be a balance between having the old and the new. And just because you can remake something doesn't mean that you should, which goes over to our final topic. So the latest Disney live action remake of Mulan has gotten a ton of controversies, either from the main actress of Mulan basically saying positive things about, the Hong Kong police force, to some scenes actually being filmed at locations where Tibetans and, Muslim people are being held in camps. I'm not going to go further than that.
Yeah.
And also the fact that the movie, as of the recording of this podcast, may have made about close to $7 million in its opening weekend, because it was released on Disney Plus for $30 and it'll be free on December 5th. I'm not going to get into the discussion about the movie because that is a whole other can of worms, and I don't want to, bring in like all this controversy, but I'm going to leave off with the final question. Should Disney stop doing these live action remakes?
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's hacky, it's lazy, it's pathetic.
And they really add nothing new, and from what I know of the Mulan remake, the things they added that were new were not an improvement. I mean, Mulan, the original movie, was all about, this woman learning her own strength, about, gaining the respect of her fellow soldiers. And I guess in the remake, it's like, oh, she has superpowers to begin with.
Yeah, and
Yeah, feminism.
yeah, and from what one of my friends, Ashton, said, who actually is Chinese, he said that so much of the Chinese symbolism being used in the movie, like that meme shot of the phoenix wings behind Mulan, that's not what the phoenix is supposed to represent in China. As he pointed out, this is what happens when white people think they're so woke, they know culture better than the people who actually belong to that culture.
I really was sort of obsessed with Phoenix back in the day, and so yeah, the Western Phoenix and the Eastern Phoenix are two completely separate things. You can't just, insert one for the other because it makes no logical sense.
Yeah. And also, from what I've heard, they got rid of Shan Yu as the main villain, and they added in 2 other villains, and one of them is a witch, I think, from what I've heard. And it's like, okay, I mean, was that in the original ballad? I don't know. I don't think so.
Probably not.
And no Mushu. How do you get rid of Mushu?
He was funny. He was great.
And I look, I understand where they were trying to do at the beginning. Like when I first heard about, the concept of this movie, it's like, we want to take it to the original source material for the Ballad of Mulan that was written around, I believe it was the 12 or 1300s. I can understand that. I mean, I would have liked to have seen, Mulan's struggle of being a woman in ancient China and trying to, become a man during, the fight against the Huns, and her serving, the war for 12 years and, them never finding out about it until like the war is over. Like that would have been, I would have liked to have seen their interpretation of the original source material. But you essentially got rid of everything that a lot of people loved. You got rid of Mushu. You got rid of the music, which I get it because, a lot of people were complaining about the inclusion of the music from the other Disney remakes, saying it was not as good as the originals. Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, everyone.
I never saw those live action remakes, and I feel like I've lived a better life because of it.
Good.
Thanks.
And also, I think that, a lot of people really, they felt that it was kind of like, oh, we're going to do essentially a similar story, but we're going to make all of these changes. And, a lot of people were just not very happy with it. And I even read some articles saying that this is the worst one so far, which, oh, wow,
My
really?
God.
Yeah, but yeah,
that's a high bar to reach.
Yeah,
it is. And I don't know, hopefully Disney will learn from this. It doesn't seem likely, but I'll tell you what, it's unlikely
this is going to be hard because, not only did the movie, has gotten critically panned, but also, again, going into the controversies about this movie, it's like, if Disney was in the know-how, knowing that they hired a person who was approving of the Hong Kong government and police force, essentially like, taking down people who were who were fighting, peaceful protests for freedom and, not to be, not to be controlled over a tyranny. And also the fact that they were filming in a location where essentially, people were being held captive and maybe even killed. So it's like,
yeah, when you're being investigated for colluding with human rights violations, you screwed up big time.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I think I even saw somebody, saying, Aaron sent me a tweet about this. It's like, it should be given the southern, what was it? The movie is going to be given, deserves the Song of the South treatment more than Song of the South.
Ooh, that is.
Oh, that is wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is harsh.
I know. It's like I mean, again, I haven't seen this movie and I don't know if I will, considering about all the stuff that's been talked about, but if that is the case, then oof, then I don't know if I know that Disney is planning, according to what I've, saw last was that they were planning on doing The Little Mermaid, Robin Hood, and they want to do James and the Giant Peach again, which is like, okay.
Why?
Why? The movie
Why?
was a failure the first time. It's like, why do you want to do it again?
I like the movie, and I just don't want that to be ruined too. I mean, it was
Right.
already basically partially live action, partially animated. It was really well done.
Like,
I
what
also
more
tried to
could you
do
do?
the witches as well.
No,
Again, I was like,
The Witches is Warner Brothers.
oh, my mistake.
Yeah, so I mean, there's also like Robin Hood and Peter Pan, as far as I've heard. But I mean, if Mulan gets to be so bad that people are gonna be like, yeah, we're not watching these things anymore, then I think that'll be the end of it.
Why doesn't Disney go back to their old style from the 60s and 70s with their live action movies and just like, try and be wild and go diverse instead of giving us another Robin Hood, do a movie about Finn McCool. There isn't a lot about him.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I mean, if you are going to do, live action remakes of your animated Disney films, go for the more obscure stuff. Go for the ones that didn't work the first time and give them a fresh coat of paint. Like, do Atlantis: The Lost Empire, do Treasure Planet.
Black Cauldron, people have been saying
Yes, thank you. Do Black Cauldron.
Cauldron.
Yes, do Black Cauldron. Do these movies that were considered to be failures or were considered to be, good attempts, but it just wasn't there yet. Do those movies. If you are, I mean, there's even talks about like, stuff for the Disney afternoon. DuckTales is doing fantastically. I mean, they're even doing they already did the they're going to do the Darkwing Duck 1 hour special. Maybe that'll lead up into like, a new series on that, focus on that. And, or if you are going to do, more live action stuff, then maybe you can focus on well, let's see. I mean, it's going to be hard because of COVID, but yeah, but basically, if you are going to do more of the live action remakes, then do base off of properties that needed a second chance. But I think that we can all agree it's time to stop.
Yeah.
Insert that filthy Frank meme here.
It's time to stop.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still can't believe he's a K-pop star now.
Interesting. Well, I mean, life will take it to interesting directions.
That it will.
Yeah. All right. So that was the first episode of the Manic Expression Digression Session, coming back from the long hiatus that we went through for the past couple of years. So, Jash, Jim, thank you so much for coming on by.
You're
Glad to be
welcome.
back.
All right. So, do you have anything to plug or self-promote?
My blog, Jashykins.blogspot.com. I do fan fictions, I do dramatic readings, I delve into various entertainment topics, and the two big things that I'm currently working on are one, a review of Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer.
The new Twilight book?
Yeah, it's a so bad it's good thing.
I'm curious on learning about it.
It's sort of like, this got published, this is hilarious. And now basically the really brief summary of Midnight Sun, besides being the Twilight told from Edward's perspective, is it's all about how stalking is really a romantic gesture.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, then.
And then my other long post I am working on is another post about the pairing of Jon and Daenerys from Game of Thrones, which I don't like, and this post will be just going over 3 things that could have vastly improved that shit show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, every time I think I'm done talking about it, I'm like, okay, this will be the last thing. Something else pops up and I'm like, now I have to write about this.
Okay. Well, that's great to hear.
On Twitter, I'm at Jashykins. Tumblr, I'm jashykins.tumblr.com. And Facebook, I'm facebook.com/Jashykins fan page.
Okay. What about you, Jim?
I'm no longer writing fan fiction. I kind of lost my spark for that, but I'm still contributing posts to Manic Expression. I recently put up an article discussing a little thought experiment on how to write the Superman villain Lex Luthor if they were a woman. And I recently posted an idea for an October writing challenge, which I'm calling Halloween Heroics, which is basically a chance to write fanfic where you take any favorite superhero characters of yours and you get to put them in their own Halloween adventure.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. I'm on Twitter at JimBevan85. And I'm also on an Instagram page, which is JBevan1985. And there you'll find occasional pictures, artwork I've commissioned, and occasionally some videos of the magic tricks I've been learning.
All right. And as for me, I'm currently going to be, as mentioned earlier in the podcast, I am going to be posting up the newest episode of the Roald Dahl retrospective. That will be tonight at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will be talking about the 2015 BBC TV movie SEO Trot, starring Dustin Hoffman and Judi Dench. And then afterwards, I will be revealing on which of the topics that you submitted, my listeners, for the 150th episode of Casual Chats topic. I will be revealing that really soon, and I'll start recording that with my special guests on that subject, and I'm really looking forward to. You can find me on youtube.com/oldschoollane, facebook.com/oldschoollane. I'm on Twitter at Patty_B_Miranda. And you can find my podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Mix, all those places. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, everyone. And we hope to see you next week. So take care.